The news out of Afghanistan is devastating for so many Australians, including our diggers, our veterans who fought there, who came to know and love the country and its people in our longest war, but especially for the more than 50,000 Australian citizens of Afghan heritage worried about their family and friends, so many of whom I'm proud to represent in the Parliament. The barbaric butchers of the Taliban have been storming across the country, continuing their brutal assault, with violence increasing in recent weeks. The terrible news today that it appears Kandahar, the second biggest city, has fallen. Truly horrific acts which have no place in modern human society. Brutal rapes, murders to make an example of people, forced marriages of young girls, removing the rights of women to an education or to participate in society. 9 or 10 cities appear to have fallen, with hundreds of thousands of Afghan citizens fleeing for their lives, becoming homeless, with worries for the capital of Kabul in the coming months. It's difficult to overstate the fear and the concern of Australians for their family and friends in Afghanistan, particularly the people of the Hazara ethnic heritage and other religious minorities, but anyone can be targeted. The whole country is at risk. MPs, politicians don't like to admit when we feel helpless, but that's how I feel right now, like Australians of Afghan heritage watching this barbarity. But Australia can and must do more. Whilst ultimately it's up to the Afghan people and the regional countries and the neighbours to determine the future, Australia cannot just stand by. We cannot remain silent and passive in the face of these inhuman acts. And so I call on the Morrison government to hurry up the processing of the visas of the interpreters and those who helped Australia for the last 20 years. We do not abandon our mates. They're not our values. But especially to hurry up and process the visas for the husbands, the wives, the children of Australian citizens who have been waiting for years for their partner and family visas. There is no excuse. If you fall in love with someone from America or Western Europe, you can get a visa now in 5 or 6 months. But from Afghanistan, it takes nearly 4 years on average. This is inexcusable, but especially now. We also can do more with regional diplomacy to pressure countries like Pakistan that can and do have influence and should do more. And we have to recognise the looming humanitarian catastrophe, the aid crisis which is going to emerge, and contribute to that. Afghan Australians have been part of our country since the 1860s, since the first Afghan Cameleer arrived in Melbourne. And since then, in the 70s, 80s and 90s, have now called Australia home and become part of our family and community. I hope for peace one day in this ancient land. But in the meantime, Scott Morrison's government have to do more to help these Australian citizens, to help their families.